And we are live, everyone. Sorry about the delays. We've had some boomer tech issues, even though I am a Zoomer, so we should probably call them Zoomer issues now instead of boomer tech.
I'm a millennial, bro.
Yeah, I'm even younger than that, but nonetheless, we're finally here. We have based Hamm. Is that what we're going to call you?
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
fine. I'm used to getting called by my last name. It's common.
Yeah, it is. Most of our generation has difficulty pronouncing names and kind of
Now,
travesty.
I spent 8 years in the Army, so you call everybody by your last name in the military.
Yeah, nice. So he is a candidate for Texas State House District 12.
Yes,
Recently
sir.
registered it again, and yeah, we'll just open up with some of the issues. So, what makes you want to run for your Texas State House 12?
I mean, the primary reason is, of course, that they tried to muzzle my children and kick them out of school for almost a year. And that is just, if government is to have one job, it's to defend people's rights and people themselves. And they failed. And this guy, not only the incumbent Kyle Cassell, not only did he sit there and not push back, he hasn't been fighting for a fourth special session so that we can get a legislative solution instead of an executive order for mandates. And that some gun voted against the bathroom bill to protect my 13-year-old daughter in the bathroom. I got problems.
No, we shouldn't accept weakness in the face of our enemies who are willing to use the full force of their power against us. You won't see this kind
They
of
want
action.
you They want you dead. The
Yes, they want
left,
you in
the
camps.
communists, they want you dead. No, they want you dead. They'll accept simply silencing you, impoverishing you, putting you in camps, and stealing your children. But they really just want you dead. They're willing to settle for political prisoners for now.
At least for now, they still have to. And again,
Yep.
with weak incumbents such as yourself, your opponent, Kyle, who is the most liberal Republican in Texas. How about that as for a title?
Yeah.
Just pathetic. With Republicans like this, you don't even need Democrats because they do their job for them.
Well, I mean, it's the what is it that old thing, like the liberal comes up and goes, "Hey, we need $3 billion for infrastructure," and this boomer con is like, "Whoa, now hold on, whoa, that seems like a lot." And the progressive goes, "How about 1.5 billion?" And the boomer con's like, "Oh, I guess." He's like, "Yeah, you win again, conservative. Good job." God, I hate them. They have no idea how to actually use strength and power to accomplish anything for the protection of their citizens. It's absolutely abhorrent. The dumbest things I've ever heard. Like, you would think the quote unquote party of business would know how to operate business, but they don't, or they're just complicit. Either way, they got to go.
That is true. Most of them are complicit, or they're just stupid. Most of the time, it's both, though.
I don't care. They just need to go. I'm not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt any longer. Just like, for 20 years, the people on the right have been like, it's a conversation, the left, we just need to explain things to them. If we can get them to understand economics and we can get them to understand how humans work and psychology, then we can get them maybe to understand unintended consequences and how these things actually operate and how you build a society that's actually beneficial for people. No, no, it's not a conversation. It's a war. It's good versus evil. We cannot sit there and work with baby killers and pedo apologists. Period.
Facts, man. Preach it to the choir because these people are beyond evil. It is evil versus good. And most of us on the right don't look at it that way, and we should. And I keep trying to tell people on the right to look at it in this moral lens, as we have to.
I think that there are more and more people that are waking up, and it's different things for each person. But realistically, you can sit there and tell a child the stove is hot 100 times. When do they learn?
And they put their hand on it.
When they experience personal pain is when people learn. In general, there's exceptions, but in general, it's not till they experience personal pain. So for most voters, until they experience their own personal pain, they're asleep at the wheel at best.
Yeah, true. So some of the issues you have on your list on your website is your protect the border, e-verify, voter integrity, voter ID. You're promoted by the GOA, constitutional carry in Texas. So talk about how you would get some of those policies out there in the state legislature and passed.
So I worked with the Gun Owners of America to help push constitutional carry in Texas. There's a long answer and there's a short answer. The shorter answer is that Republicans have been in control in Texas for 18 years. They've been in control of the House. They've been in control of the Senate. They've been in control of the governor's office, and they've been in control of the Supreme Court. There's no excuse why we haven't gotten these things accomplished. Period. Okay. So the short answer is we just need people to do it. The long answer is we have to establish our sovereignty as a state, which is going to require people who have the testicular fortitude to just do it. Like e-verify. We have that across all Texas businesses. Done. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what judges say. I don't care about none of it. Texas does not need to ask permission or forgiveness to protect Texans. Period. We just do it. And if you sit there and you make the punishments for those who fail to comply, go to the business owners, not the business owners. And you'll solve that problem real fast. That's how you fix that. Once you start doing that, then you begin to clear up the border all on its own. Build a wall anyways. We got most of the materials down there. Mobilize the Texas State Guard. You can add in the National Guard if you want to, and you just start building it. You don't need permission or forgiveness. If the federal government won't do what's required, we just start doing it. What was the other one? Constitutional carry. The constitutional carry that we got in Texas was watered down and weak. It is not true constitutional carry. We can make it stronger. Just do it.
Yeah, I liked what you said on Dawn's channel about just getting rid of taxes and just not forcing the NFA, which is unconstitutional and illegal.
So, I'm working with the Texas Nationalist Movement, and part of it is that we just begin asserting our sovereignty one step at a time. And there's a lot of fear that people have of the federal government that's completely unwarranted. The federal government is at best a paper tiger, right? Just a paper tiger. The only authority that it has is the authority that the people give it. And it has the power of dollars. So if you begin to walk down the path in which you begin to assert your sovereignty as a state, as we should, then if the feds are foolish, then what they'll do is they'll go, you must do this or we're going to take away, quote unquote, your money. And the answer to that is fine. If you decide to not have Texas participate in your income tax, disbursement scheme, then Texans aren't going to pay income taxes at the federal level. We're just going to separate ourselves from it altogether. We're not going to put in and we're not going to take out. You don't have to give us any funds whatsoever. We will be completely self-sufficient as a state. It's not that hard. We could do it. We have a windfall every year. We have a surplus. We're not under budget. The majority of the problems that we have in Texas are because of federal overreach. Just stop. What are they going to do? Yell at us? So? Should we listen to the judges? The same judges that didn't do the only job they have, which was to negotiate a disagreement between the states? They've lost whatever, legitimacy they had. They're just political hacks. We don't need to listen to them. We just take care of Texas. That's a big enough job for us.
No, and I like that attitude, and I wish more people on the right had this attitude of actually using the power that we have, because the 10th Amendment gives us a lot of power at the local and state level. Unfortunately, most are just too cocked, just to say it bluntly, to do anything, because our opponents think about it logically, because the second they gain power, they're using the Justice Department to call protesters at school board meetings terrorists. The enemies of the regime will always use their power against their political opponents. And whenever the right gets back in power, we like to say, let's compromise with these people. We need to compromise. And what that looks like is just giving everything over to the left. And you never push the overton window right, never advance your ideas, policies. It's always caving, always with the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and so part of the reason that's true is because, the right has been playing a different game. Okay, so what is winning for the right? I'm married. I've got beautiful children. My kids are doing well. I'm able to provide for them. I'm living a good life. I'm winning, according to the right. What is the left's definition of winning? Power, control. And so they've been playing a completely different game. And the right has just been like, hey, just leave us alone. Just leave us alone. And the communists refuse. They will never leave us alone. And it's just people have got to recognize that the reason we're in the situation we are is because we slept and we allowed it to happen.
Yeah, that is true. We allowed all the institutions to be captured by the left in the 70s, 60s, and 50s, to be taken over, and to get this notion that our principles are to not use power against our enemies when we have it. And they will always use power against us. And it's just this dumb mindset that we have for some reason. It's probably from Bill Buckley, to be honest, and the neoconservative movement.
Well, so there's two things. One, a lot of people in the right wing mistakenly believe that fascism is right wing, which is the dumbest shit ever. Okay? Because the only difference between fascism and communism is that communists own the means of production and fascists control the means of production. Otherwise, it's the exact same crap. They're both left-wing ideologies. They don't have anything to do with right-wing, with individualism. Okay? So that's the first thing that right-wingers have just got to get out of their head. Secondly, right-wingers have been under the mistaken concept of, one, well, it's just a conversation. We talked about that earlier. That's horseshit. And then two, well, if we use our power and punish our enemies, then when the left gets in power, then they'll just use it against us and they'll punish us. And we don't want that. We're trying to have, a civil, conversation. We're trying to work things through peacefully. And that's all well and good, except they're using their power to punish you already, to punish us. So your concept of, not increasing the severity of the consequences of politics is moot because they've already done it. And they will continue to use whatever levers the power they can to control you. Because that's their goal. Control. Want to fight back? You're going to have to actually use levers of power.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the issues you say, you're unabashedly pro-life, and we hear a lot of conservatives who try to cuck on this issue. They don't go all the way. you're unabashedly pro-life and against the murder of innocent children and organ trafficking, which is what Planned Parenthood does. They profit by selling the organs of murdered children and so many other things that this organization does that receives taxpayer money, which is illegal but still is done by the regime in charge currently. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, it's been done on both sides for a long time, and they try to do accounting bull crap to be like, oh, well, we're not really giving money for this thing, and it's the dumbest stuff ever. Because if I give you $50 and I say don't spend this on booze, and so you took the $50 that you were going to spend on gas, and you buy booze with that $50, and then you use my $50 on gas. Guess what I just did? I subsidized your damn booze. So that's why it's just accounting BS. It's not real in any way. And beyond that, murdering babies is abhorrent. It's wrong. It's illegal, and I don't care. I don't care what the excuses are. I don't care about anything else. That's a person, and you don't get to murder people. If you murder people, we get to murder you back. That's how we roll.
It's true, it's very obvious, and if we lived in a sane society like the 50s or earlier, this wouldn't even be a conversation, but that's what happens when the left has the levers of power and all the institutions on their side for over 100 years at this point, and pushing the narrative in their direction.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been happening since before that. I mean, a lot of the problems that we're seeing are the same problems that were dealt with, with the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, with the Jacksonians, with the all the crap that happened with Lincoln. It accelerated and got worse with the worst president we've ever had, Woodrow Wilson. But the basic problems of rural versus urban and of individualism versus collectivism have always been an ongoing problem in every place on this planet. And so it requires constant vigilance to maintain liberty. And people slept. Menace Taroth went to sleep. And if you aren't awake to light the freaking beacons and to warn people and to sound the gongs, then the shadow will just keep growing.
True, and I want to get your thoughts on some of these recent things. So I'll talk about the actions that occurred on Twitter on December 6th. We saw a bunch of people just get censored. We saw Vince Dow, a bunch of other people on the right wing. Not sure if you're aware of this. They were just taken down by this new CEO who is vehemently anti-white. He's also a far leftist at this point, and they're just
being
censoring
anti-white
us.
and being far left are just the same thing. So,
well, it's pretty synonymous at this point. But we saw Twitter just purge, censor all right-wing accounts, and we've tried to see, we see Ron DeSantis try to pass a tech censure bill in Florida, which was a great step in the direction, but it just lacked teeth and it didn't do anything for us, and we're still being silenced. Our bank accounts are still being taken away. We're still being put on no-fly lists. That's happening, and nothing's being done. So, what are your thoughts on that?
well, I mean, it's the same thing. Any legislation that doesn't have teeth is just words on paper, and that includes the Constitution. Like, it requires people to actively work to defend the ideals, the virtues, and the values. You don't get just the Bible can't just touch a person and make them behave in a moral manner. You actually have to live that stuff. Same thing with the Constitution. You have to live it. You have to actually do the work to keep it alive. And this is also true of legislation. If you're going to have legislation to protect people, which if you're going to have legislation, that's kind of why you would have it, then you need to have legislation that has enough teeth to help your allies and punish your enemies. It's not rocket surgery. I'm a diesel mechanic, man. You just have to find people who have the will to stand up to mean words from people who are the most atrocious people who have ever walked this planet.
Yes, we'll even hear from some conservatives who will try to justify this by saying, "Oh, they're big corporations. The private corporation can do whatever they want as long as government isn't involved." And this notion just needs to die on the right. It just helps our enemies.
It's the dumbest take ever, especially because all you have to do is go, fine, so slavery is okay in the private workplace? No? So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it should be that simple, but we still have these people that we need to deal with on the right.
Mhm.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on Greg Abbott, as we've seen him recently try to pivot from being a standard neocon, basically standard GOP, with Don Huffines and Alan West primarying him to the right to get him to do something about the invasion on the southern border, which the administration brags about.
Chad Prater is also winning. Sorry. That's
Yeah,
delay, man.
that's fine. And Greg is just weak. He's weak on the issues. He doesn't protect the border. And people don't understand this, but by not protecting the border and allowing these just cartels to traffic people, I mean, they're trafficking so many people, they have to put bans to track who gets to go first across the southern border. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Yeah, and it's completely destroying. It destroys the heritage of Texas. It destroys the culture of Texas. It destroys the economy of Texas. And it's intentional. It's absolutely 100% intentional. The purpose. So if you were a political movement who had successfully brainwashed your morons into not having children and murdering their babies when they do get pregnant, you're probably going to need some replacement voters, especially if you've been doing that for 50 years. So that's what they're doing. And then you combine that with, just over time, decreasing the culture, the heritage of sovereign states and sovereign citizens and individualism. See, I hate using individualism because we're not these individual atomic entities. We are families. We are communities. We're not collectivists, but we understand the fact that you need to have morality if you're going to have law and order, and that you don't come into this world just as a solitary person. You come in and you're a daughter, or you're a son, you're a brother, a sister, cousin, blah 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 blah. And so you have connections to a clan already, and so there are duties and responsibilities that you have to yourself and to the people around you that extends beyond just individualism.
Yeah, the individual does not triumph the society, and this idea that we should have immigration because the GDP goes up. We've heard this argument from some sections of the right that we should have 2 million people come in a year plus the 2 million that came in illegally on the southern border because the GDP goes up, man. And that argument needs to die. Our society's social structure is decaying. Our cities are dying. Our nation's dying, frankly, at this rate. And I don't care about the GDP. I couldn't give a damn about the GDP. I care more about our society and our nation surviving.
Is the GDP helping the citizens? And if the answer is no, I don't care. And the answer is assuredly no. Because what we should have is strong families who are building strong culture and strong communities. And we definitely don't have that. And every time that you sit there and you keep moving, Grandpa Warbucks in there, the United States government, then you're going to automatically just choke off all of the free-spirited sovereign individuals and institutions that were taking care of people, that were creating that culture and that community.
Yeah, many of those institutions have been weaponized against us and saying that America is just an idea. There was never a nation of Americans. We're just a melting pot of whatever immigrant group the left and the big tech decide they want brought over now. But now it's Indians mostly for Silicon Valley and
You know how
Mexican.
all you got to do to sit there and call them out on their horseshit is say, fine, we'll stop all immigration except from Poland, Czechoslovakia, and the Balkans. Because those people remember communism. And Cuba. We'll let Cubans in. They're pretty good. Right?
Yeah, I'm from Florida, so we can say they are based, most of them.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have stupids. But in general, they understand the pain of communism. Right? But if we were to say that, then all of a sudden they're like, well, that's not good enough, right? And that's the problem that we keep having is that again, people think that this is some sort of conversation and that you might be able to, communicate and try to get to a point whereupon, an agreement can be reached and that would be, mutually beneficial. No, 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 no. That's not how this works. It's not how it's been working for 50 years. You're a little young, and it happened actually. Geez, I was like 4 when it happened. Do you know why Republicans have been so hostile to amnesty? The base, not the stupid people that are in the establishment. Do you know why the base has been so hostile to amnesty for 50 years, 40 years?
Probably because Reagan gave amnesty and turned California blue forever, but could have just
Do you know,
recognized changes.
right, but do you know how that happened?
Um, I know he signed amnesty to try to win over the votes.
Nope.
I'm not sure.
Mm-mm. Okay. So Reagan and Tip O'Neill worked together to develop a plan whereupon we would solve the illegal immigration problem. Okay. And in this bipartisan agreement, what was decided was we will give amnesty for all the people that are here, and Congress shall build a wall on the southern border. Did we ever get that wall?
No.
Right. So that was agreed upon in like 1982 or some 86 or whatever. I forget exactly what year it is. But that's the reason that people have been adamant on the right for so long. No, no amnesty, none whatsoever, because we already did this once and you still haven't fulfilled your part of the bargain from 40 years ago. Right. And the good news is that you just have to keep reminding people of the ways in which they try to negotiate with people and they get screwed over. Because if you get screwed over enough times, you get kind of tired of it.
Yeah, that is true. Well, most people in the right can recognize that we have been screwed over for the past 100 years at this rate,
Mm-hmm.
and it will continue unless we change and people like you take over and get rid of the corrupt establishment who do nothing and just say they're bipartisan and they're the most liberal Republican and they're Dan Crenshaw. We need to compromise, you know.
We need to do more than just take them out politically. We need to start holding them personally accountable for the things they do. People should go to jail for the corruption and for the cronyism. Start
Yeah,
with
I'm
our
all.
side. I'm fine with that. You want to sit there and start cleaning house? Start holding these fucktards personally accountable for the numbnut shit they do, and watch how fast we start seeing people resigning, leaving, and we begin to try to get some better people in there. The second thing we have to do is on the right, we have to make service a virtue again. And that's on us. We have to sit there and be like, look, I get it. The DMV, it sucks. It really does. But you would be of service to your community if you were the most based DMV clerk there. Look, I get it. Tax collector sucks, but you would be a service to the community if you were the most based county tax assessor there is, really working with people the best you can, blah, 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 blah. Right? So it's a two-edged thing. One, hold people personally accountable for fraudulence. And two, we really need to start getting people who believe in service and believe in community and believe in individual rights and God-given rights to begin to infiltrate and take over these organizations.
Yeah, that is true. Service on the right, the service of society, that virtue, we need that again in society, and not just this idea of just people getting in there and getting corrupt into. You get Mitch McConnell. That's what you get when you just allow that for 50 years at this point, who's just
Yeah.
a donor shill for big corporations, and whoever buys him, he's for sale.
Well, I mean, we say that, but simultaneously, how do I say this without sounding, ridiculous? It does take money to win elections. And you know what? If I could get a whole bunch of people to pour money into my campaign so that I could run a better campaign and reach more people, drive more places, etc. Yeah, guess what? You're buying a politician. You're buying access. You're getting somebody who represents you to be up there to do things. Does that mean that I'm going to sit there and do everything you want? No, I'm not that kind of guy. He is, I'm not. But you're still buying a politician. You're just buying a different type.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I wanted to get your thoughts on. We see a lot of these big tech companies moving to Austin. They're starting to call it the Silicon Hills of Texas, and we hear some people on the right saying it's good that these jobs are moving out of California. They're finally moving over from the communist California. Isn't that great? They're moving over and bringing jobs to the great state of Texas. But what they fail to understand is these companies are fundamentally against our interest, and in fact, they're fundamentally opposed to you and your interest in society. And what do you see when these companies move to Austin? Oh, Texas is starting to move to the left. Oh, you see, they want more FB1 visas brought in. They want more immigrants brought in. Who do you think funds all this immigration? Who wants it? It's these big tech companies who want cheap labor, and the political class of the left benefits. So they both benefit. So they can both fuck us over at the same time, and they both benefit.
Yes.
That was the deal from a long time, which is why both parties supported mass immigration and this idea that America isn't a people, we're just a shopping mall, if that anymore.
So, okay. Thing one is right now, and for the last 50 years, if they pissed off the right wing, what would happen?
Well, we would use power against them. We would
Then, if they pissed off the right wing, what would happen?
I honestly can't tell because I haven't lived for
Nothing.
long enough.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing, pretty much.
Nothing. Right? It's the party of useless, the party of stupid. Like, I mean, when your options are the party of evil and the party of stupid, you take the party of stupid, but you're not happy about it. Right? And so if you've got two forces in front of you, one is stupid and won't do anything, and the other will crush you beneath the weight of their boots, what are you going to do? I mean, it's like, I'm not saying that there aren't ideological factors, and once you buy into something for a while and you start to believe it, blah blah blah. I'm not making excuses. All I'm saying is, if you begin to make laws in Texas that hold them personally accountable and really bring the screws down if they do dumb crap, I bet you that'll start changing. Because who are they going to be sucking up to then? The right. And how are they going to suck up to the right? Are they going to do it by being authoritarians? Or are they going to do it by being like, hey, you guys just banned a whole bunch of people. Here's a $250,000 fine for each one. Thank you. All of a sudden, that shit dries up real fast. It's a matter of incentives. Right wingers should understand marketplace incentives. We certainly don't have a free market. If we don't have a free market, then we might as well have a market that is in the best interest of the people, while we're hopefully moving towards a more free market.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. The free market is an illusion right now. I mean, it's just monopolies who can persecute you at any point, and most people do nothing about it. But I hate this idea that
Correct.
only tech companies can move into our states. Like there's no other industries. We can't bring back manufacturing to Texas or
I mean,
something. It only can
my
be big
town,
tech.
my town brought in a steel mill, so that opened up a couple of years ago. There's other stuff out here. It just doesn't get the popularity, the big names of others, especially because there's so much technology now, and even doing a steel mill, that the number of workers you need has gone from say 5,000 to 500. If you got a magnitude less people needed to run a steel mill, that's a large difference, and it is. But that doesn't mean that those jobs aren't productive, aren't useful, don't contribute to the local economy, to the ability of the state to be sovereign, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that is true, and I think we need to bring back manufacturing on a large scale back to America, and not manufacture things in China and Taiwan. Otherwise, the whole Taiwanese question of we must defend Taiwan, and I agree with that. Taiwan is our ally against communist China, but we need to bring that manufacturing back over here so it isn't just so much of a threat that they could take it, bomb it, and that would just the chips alone would set us back so much. We're already having supply chain issues. Imagine
Fine.
a war with China.
Look, so instead of doing all that, why don't we just take tanker ships over there and start loading up all the production and bring it back?
Exactly.
We'll
Why do we
take as
need it
many
over there?
Taiwanese people as we want. Take all the Taiwanese people you want and take all their freaking industry and just bring it right on over here. Fine. I'm not interested in a war anywhere else. I got a Purple Heart for getting injured in Afghanistan. Been to Iraq also. I'm not interested in wars anywhere in the doggone world except in America. If you're not threatening my children with tanks or with missiles, my brothers and sisters should be over there. China, that sounds like a regional problem for the Far East. Russia and Ukraine, that sounds like a Russia and Europe problem. Ain't got nothing to do with me. Venezuela, sounds like a Venezuela problem. My problem's Texas. And I don't want to sit there and be sending, treasure or lives to go anywhere else in the doggone world. We got enough problems right here at home to take care of.
Exactly, and all those wars seem to do is just help spread globalism and enrich the donors of the military-industrial complex, which is why they are so
Who are the
bloodthirsty.
ones? Who are the ones that are going to volunteer? So we have an all-volunteer military. Who are the ones that are going to volunteer to go serve?
Conservative white men mostly. Still, I would say.
The ones who have the stones. The ones who might be willing to resist.
Exactly, it
You keep
serves the regime in many ways.
you keep cutting that out of the genome, for a while, and it's going to have consequences. You have a generation of people. I mean, geez, look at what happened in frickin' England after World War One. They didn't used to be so bad. They weren't that good, but they didn't used to be so bad. You still there? I need to run. Go get something. So just hang on.
Are you back yet? Okay. Sorry, the Wi-Fi cut out for a second. Yeah, it's fine.
I don't know.
It's fine. I can still hear you. So I wanted to get your thoughts about how we, on a local level, just if you're elected to the state house in Texas, some things you would propose. So tackling education, this was a big stream I did. I talked about how education is so important. and it's one of the many ways the left keeps moving the country left, is because they control education, indoctrination of our kids, and that's been a problem for a long time. But some ways we could compromise this on a local level is by getting rid of the two biggest school book publishers. I don't know if you know them, Graph and Dawn. Yeah. And you can't tell the difference between AOC's Twitter and theirs. And that is a big problem. They should not be writing your kids' books. That power is given to the state.
Yes. Well, so there are a couple of things that we can do to resolve these issues. People may not like the answers, but thing one that I say we should do is reinstitute shooting programs at every single public school, and train a generation of Texans that they have sovereignty, they're responsible for their defense, and raise them to be based. Because if you teach a generation of youth firearms, they're not going to be soy bitches. Like, those two things just don't go together. You don't teach people, a skill set that is that dangerous and requires that level of control without teaching them responsibility and accountability and all of the personal things that are important. And I mean, we had this 50 years ago, 70 years ago now, but in the 50s, we had firearms training schools or firearm training classes and marksmanship classes in government schools. Bring it back.
Yeah, Russia has this where they teach kids to use AKs, and I don't see a problem why we can't use the more better AR-15 here. Seems pretty patriotic.
Yeah, of course we can. Just requires doing it. I mean, that's where the answer comes back to a lot of things, honestly. But I'm gonna step outside.
Yeah, no problem. And then we also have the problem in conservative states where we have transgender story hour in public libraries, which in a red state like Texas is just unacceptable.
I mean, the original wood chippers are axes. That's all I'm saying.
No, I think we do need the wood chippers, but number one, they're publicly funded, so take away their funding, punish them, and most of these people, these transgenders who are reading to your kids, are convicted pedophiles, by the way. So they should be arrested. They should not be near your kids at all.
So, it's a thing that the right has to contend with, is that they have weaponized your Christian values against you. Okay. And when I was growing up, you had Eddie Izzard. You had a couple of people out there who were transvestites or transgenders or whatever, and nobody gave a shit, right? Because basically, if you saw a dude wearing a dress, it was about the same as seeing that guy walking around with Stilton and Uncle Sam costume on. Like, sure, you're ridiculous, but you're not hurting anyone, and I don't care, right? And that's the proper way that it should be treated. If you're not hurting anybody, like, you're weird and you're not a part of polite society, you stay over there away from everybody. We can mock you from a distance, and that's fine. But they weaponized our Christian desire for peace, our Christian desire to want to be polite and kind. They weaponized that against us. And it's going to require people to really, we desperately have needed churches to become involved for at least 70 years. I'll be glad if that ever happens. But we need individual people to begin to recognize, how it is that, why are you letting kid touchers sit there and preach to you about how you should treat them? Like, how is this acceptable? Just start putting that stuff right in their faces, and all of a sudden your average, red-blooded American is gonna be like, Yeah, that's ridiculous. No, I don't. The answer is no. And again, yes, you prosecute the people who allowed this kind of pornographic material into our schools. You prosecute the people who allowed that to get put into the public libraries, into the minors sections. That's just what you do. And you start holding those people personally accountable, and everything will change real fast, quick, and in a hurry as soon as there is any kind of personal accountability. The problem right now is that most right wingers be like, well, just get it fixed, get it out of the school, and like I don't really care. I don't need to see heads roll. No, no, you do. That is exactly what you need if you're going to stop it from happening in the future. McCarthy didn't go far enough.
No, I agree with you. Did not. It was unfairly censored in his age. But we need to go way farther than that. That these books in public schools, which are basically CP, teaching kids they should not be allowed. They need to be punished. Restraining order. I don't know. I'm sure that's a policy you could push at the local level to get these books banned. These people banned from libraries. Essentially, I mean, bring back the mental institutions for sake. That's where these people truly need to go. We need that back in our country.
Yeah,
the mental institutions.
And honestly, there's a lot to be said for again training a generation that they're responsible for their defense, and all of a sudden, you might have a lot less repeat career criminals. Then you wouldn't have overcrowding in jails.
No, I agree with you, and that would be easy. We have full control over Texas, and it should have been done years ago, but these people are too busy, laissez-faire, letting things move to the left incrementally. That's how it's been done for a long time.
But it's also on me. It's also on me. It's also on us, because we weren't forcing these things. We were asleep. Sure, I listened to Rush Limbaugh. I read my Bible. I was trying to just be a decent human being, but I wasn't out there on the warpath ensuring that the city was still shining on that hill. I wasn't vigilant in the defense. And so now we're going to have to way overcorrect to be able to get back on track. It's just the way it's going to have to go. And I'm not trying to be obstinate, but it's easy for right wingers to go and point and blame the left when we got a freaking beam in our eye that we must remove. And the beam we have is that we haven't been paying attention. We haven't been honoring service so that we can get good people into those positions. And we haven't been holding our own accountable for the awful shit they've done.
No, I would actually agree with you. We haven't been. We should look at ourselves when we try to criticize our enemies, because that was allowed to happen because of us. It was the men in this country who allowed this to happen. It wasn't the left. They wouldn't have this power if we didn't allow them.
You want to hear something that'll make your blood boil?
What?
Republicans are the ones that elected Biden.
I mean, yeah, I would agree with you.
Did you know that every single one of those swing states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the other one whose name I forget right now, but at least those four, all four of those states have Republican-controlled legislatures that allowed every bit of that voting shenanigan bullshit to occur. Republicans are the ones that elected Joe Biden because they were too weak to stand.
Yeah, that is true. The fortification was allowed to happen under their watch. It's the reason we lost the Georgia Senate election. That's mostly because of McConnell, but there was shenanigans going on in Atlanta at this point. That was allowed because of Republicans, and most of the time they're implicit in allowing Dominion voting machines in their state. It's insane that these things are allowed to continue in states we have full power over.
Yeah, just like right now, the DOJ is trying to bring suit against Texas over our maps. And the proper answer is pound sand. Fuck right off. You already told us that you didn't want to get involved in state politics when we brought suit to the Supreme Court about problems between states. And you said, that's not really something we deal with. Fine. That's not something you deal with. Fuck right off then. You don't get to have any sort of dominion over us when you did not do the one thing you're supposed to do. So the answer is no.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't stand up at all. They didn't do the one thing they were elected to do, etc., etc.
Supreme Court's appointed, but the principle remains the same.
Yeah, the principle is what I was trying to get at there.
Yep.
So let's talk about your opponent just real quick before we close the stream, and you can shill your links. So your opponent's name is Kyle, not the based one on the right. He's gay. He's a boomer, the most liberal Republican. I mean, he should already be gone just because of that. But what are some things you could tell us about him that we don't already know?
Well, the part of the reason that he wasn't pushing for a fourth special session to have legislative protections for Texans against unconstitutional mandates is apparently because he was trophy hunting in Africa. So that is more important to him than his constituents. He voted against the bathroom bill to protect my 13-year-old daughter from what happened in Loudoun, Virginia, which it's why I'm running for office, because I want my children to know that I have done everything I can to peacefully resolve the problems that are currently occurring. Okay? Because that's a real humdinger for me. There's other stuff he's done. He worked with Democrats to elect the current speaker, who is an absolute atrocity. He didn't sit there and fight to restrict the unconstitutional executive orders that Abbott has done. He hasn't sat there and done anything to protect his constituents, and he's never seen a budget he doesn't like. Like, okay, he will vote along with the Second Amendment because he gets a lot of money from the NRA. Whoop-de-doo. I don't care. When I was out there in support of Gun Owners of America and constitutional carry, you know who wasn't? A representative. Some diesel mechanic drove up there to go and talk, and he couldn't be bothered. That's ridiculous. I was out there at the governor's mansion for mask mandates, right? Trying to protect and stop these freaking mask mandates. Was he out there? No. Was he fighting from the freaking floor of the Congress? No. At best, he is just weak. And this is an R+20 district. There's no excuse. There's no reason why we can't have a Matt Gaetz or a Marjorie Taylor Greene or an actual firebrand spitting that real liberty truth. That's what we should have in an R+20 district, not some marshmallow Stay Puft like wannabe rhino. No, not good enough. Not now.
Yeah, we can't afford that. We don't have time for that anymore. We need people who actually fight like you, who actually stand up for the kids of most basic things of all. And most conservatives won't even do that, unfortunately. But we're getting too close to an hour, so I'm going to let you show your stuff, and we'll get out of here. So where can the people find you?
JoshuaHamm.com, just as it's spelled right there, .com. I would gladly welcome support. If you're around here and you're able to volunteer, awesome. If you're further out, I will gladly accept your dollary dues, because right now I am running this campaign off of my disability from the Army, basically. So it's going to a good cause, at least. But if you want good people in office, it's going to require some personal sacrifice. And so, if you can't yet become the person who is out there fighting, then at least help the people who are, please. Like $5, thank you. $1, thank you. I had one guy who donated a ridiculous sum, according to me. I make 50 grand a year. Like I'm not Mr. Moneybags, right? So uh, it every bit really, really does help, because my my district is 5 Texas counties, which is probably bigger than Rhode Island.
Yeah, that anyone could say that. Rhode Island's one of the smallest states in the union.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, and that's it. Like it's like all the jobs I've had. It's like it's been preparing me for this. I used to drive internationally. I drove trucks, in the United States, and I drove them weekly from Houston to Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada. So this crap they're trying to pull with the vaccine mandate, that would have affected me and my dad, because we were driving teams. I worked in the oil field for a while. This crap they're pulling right now, that would have affected me when I was working in the oil field. I worked as a mechanic. I worked in the military. I was over in Afghanistan and Iraq. It's like all of these different things that these freaking tyrannical monsters are doing to our country have just been squeezing people like me mercilessly. And the only way you cannot kneel your way or comply your way to freedom. Period.
no, otherwise you end up like Australia or worse, which have camps for the unvaxxed, and they gave up their guns and freedoms a long time ago, and look where they are right now.
The guns are the last stand that too many people focus on. School boards, mayors, city councils, state representatives, state senators. Those are the people who are going to do more to protect your freedom than that rifle will, most likely. Because no man is an island unto himself. If you build the right culture, then hopefully you'll never have to use that rifle. That's the goal. It's good to have it, by all means. Make yourself armed. Make yourself a hard target. Get training. Become a man who is capable of protecting and defending what is important to you. But there's more than just that. Again, there's community. There's expansion. You need to become a man who not only can protect and defend what you hold, but what you hold dear.
Yeah, that's such a great statement, and you seem like a really good guy. And
Well, that's just because you don't know me. I'm a monster, man.
No, what many people don't understand is our opponents are evil. They are monsters. I mean, just on Twitter, they have like suicide pods for kids in Switzerland right now that were just legalized. I mean, we need to stop pretending that this is just we just disagree, but we agree with the direction the country's going. No, they're evil and they want to kill you and your children, or worse. So
they can't have children. That's why they become teachers.
Yeah, which
so
are pedophiles. You can't tell the difference at this point between the two. But Joshua's links are in the description. Support him if you live in his district. Door knock, calls, whatever you can.
Reach out to me on Twitter. I'm open. I am interested in talking to people. I'm interested in because one of my things that I'm trying to do, and let me plug this here at the end before we end, is what's today? Today's the 8th, so there are 5 days left in Texas to be able to submit your primary or your submit your paperwork so you can run in the primary and hopefully get rid of whatever dirt bag is in your area. But part of the reason I'm running is because there's a lot of lawyers out there and everybody else. And there's not a lot of people who are just blue collar, real red meat American guys. And we need more of those. And if I can do this, so can you. I take my kids with me when I go door knocking. I had my, at the time he was like 4-month-old, strapped to my chest as I was out there knocking on doors to get people to vote. I've taken my kids with me to the Capitol when I've been up there to go and do stuff. I don't take them with me when the rally might be contentious. Don't be stupid. But the point is, stop having excuses. Start working.
Yeah, evil flees from righteous men, as I like to say. And with that, this was a great interview. You can follow the links in the description, support Josh, follow him on Twitter. You can message him if you live in this district. He'll reach out to you. He's a great guy, very patient. So we have technical issues, but thank you all for watching, and have a good night.
God bless you.
God bless you too.